Hi, everyone, and welcome to our info session. My name is Carly Beard, and I'm from Loyalist's marketing, communications, and recruitment team. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Frank O'Connor, the program coordinator of Loyalist's two-year photojournalism diploma program. Thank you for joining us, Frank. Let's begin by talking a little bit about your background. Can you tell us about your industry experience?
Sure. Thanks, Carly, for the opportunity. I was a newspaper photographer for 23 years, and editorial photographer, I should say, as I made my living always with a camera before coming to Loyalist. And during that time, I got involved heavily with professional development organizations such as the Ontario News Photographers Association, which became the Eastern Canadian News Photographers Association, and that slowly morphed into the News Photography Association in Canada. So I'd always been involved with them, and I did a little bit of dabbled in teaching along the way. And when this opportunity presented itself, I thought it was going to be a one-year thing, and here I am 20 years later, and still loving it. So 50% of my life, my professional life, pretty much has been spent with either working on the street, or now the last half of it working in the college. So I've been at this a fairly long time, but every day is just as fresh as the one before it.
Well, we're lucky to have you and all your experience with us. Can you tell us a little bit about the photojournalism program? It's a pretty unique one.
Our faculty, Patty Gower, Scott Whalen, and Dan Williams, and Linda O'Connor, we have two part-timers, two full-timers as well as me. We're all cut from the same cloth, as it were. So we're a pretty tight team. We challenge each other, but we support each other, and we're passionate about what we do, and that is to start careers, and not only start careers, but help people understand themselves and where they fit in the world. And the photojournalism program is the only two-year full diploma program that does that, and it's primarily a visual communications program. So because we're really understanding of that, we have to change and evolve as this skill set has over the years, and how the industry has evolved over the years. So we have developed a skill set program which we call the triple threat skill set. It's the modern skill set of the visual communicator. And journalism now, of course, has branched out into so many other fields that we have to be transferable in our skill set. So those three skills, the primary skills of shooting, still pictures, producing multimedia with video and sound, and of course writing, those skills are all the modern skill set of the visual communicator, whether you are in traditional journalism or in so many other areas of application.
I love that idea of the triple threat. And that kind of leads into my next question, which is for you: what makes a good photojournalist?
Oh, that's an interesting one. The beauty of being a photojournalism student is you get to develop your sense of yourself in the world. You get to discover who you are, how you relate to the world, what the world's all about. There's a fair bit of, I think a little dabbling in, there's a lot of thinking in it, right? And we have a phrase, think, shoot, and shoot, think. So we challenge our students to think about how they want to communicate, to think about who they are, to think about how they go about telling a story, whether with one picture, whether with 10 pictures, whether with video, with sound, with audio, whatever you need to do. How do I go about doing that? So there's a lot of thinking involved. There's some introspection involved. There's people that come to us with a little bit of uncertainty as to how they want to apply these skill sets. So there's a lot of self-discovery in the program. And that said, it's one of the byproducts that some of our students come for, really visual literacy and self-discovery about who they are in the world. And if there's one way to find out about yourself, it is to carry a camera and to observe, because partly what we do is we tend to train people to be professional observers. And to do that, I think you need to have a sense of public service overarching. So you need to have a sense of empathy. There are a lot of human skills that come along with those transferable photographic skills. And all the while, I might say you get a really good, solid photographic education. We're not a technical course, but you come out of there knowing, the controllers of light and the parts of the camera and how to make it all work. So what you do with that is entirely up to you. And that's really the big thing about our place, is that we're not trying to pound you into a square peg in a round hole. We try and, take those square pegs, the round pegs, and then find a suitably shaped hole for you to fit into in life, and maybe challenge you to alter your shape a little bit or to explore new things. But it is your journey that you're on when you come to us. So we recognize that, and we're not trying to force a mantra onto anyone.
Yeah, I love that. I love that the program is personal and it's creative while also being kind of skills based. This is Canada's only multi-year photojournalism program. How does it give students an industry advantage?
Some programs have difficulty finding advisory board members. We have lineups because people want to contribute. They're passionate about what they do, what they've learned, and they want to help others coming along. And that, that sort of family sense is one of the big things about our advisory board that really takes us to another level. And where that is important, because you network with those advisors, right? It's not like they are just floating out there in some other advisory capacity for curriculum or anything. Our advisory board members come to the college, and one day per semester, we crowd them all in there and they look at a student portfolio. So in our business, I should say this quietly, but grades don't always matter. It's what you do, right? Your work is your ticket. So you organically grow evidence in a portfolio, proof of what you did, what you have witnessed, what you have seen, what you have accomplished. And you, from the first semester, you start to accumulate that. So you grow this portfolio, and along the way, you present it to advisory board members. In the 4 semesters, you're going to have 4 formal opportunities to present your portfolio and discuss. And these images and these video clips and these stories all become talking points for your advancement, for your improvement. So they're catalysts for a further level of discussion and learning that our students get with these advisors. And they also begin to, as I said, have that organic portfolio, so that along the way, we have courses that are portfolio driven, where the whole idea is to add to that portfolio. And when you start to do this at the end of each semester, it starts to, it's like, rolling a snowball. And in semester 1, you get that little snowball on that nice, thankfully it's not like that today, but you get that little ball of sticky snow out, and you start to roll it, and you spend all semester rolling it. Some of the snow sticks, some of it doesn't, but eventually over the 4 semesters, you have, at the end of the day, you should have this wonderful, perfect, snowman that you built, this body of work that you can present. So when our students leave us, part of their requirement as their exit portfolio is to have a web presence. They have an identity that is their name, that they say, this is me, this is who I am, and this is what I have done. And they have examples of writing, of video, of photography, of packages of all of the parts. And they have it presented in a way to the world that gives them a start in life. So we spend these 4 semesters training you for this, this kind of marathon of life. And so that when you roll out the other end, it's not a big scary thing, because you've got some, some tools in your toolkit, and you've got evidence of how well you can use them. And that comes from things like the advisory board, like the small business, the business, freelance business practices courses, the portfolio courses, and the assignments, which are all in a way putting students in a position to expose themselves to scenarios that will produce the kind of work that they can put in their portfolio.
What kind of assignments can be found in a student's portfolio? Could you give us an example or two?
If you always say, well, go out and shoot a nice picture, right? Or go out and take a photograph, people will always do pretty much what they like or what they're good at, or, you know, something that, some motivating reason for that. So what we do is we try to take and look at life as rather like a loaf of bread, and you slice it into slices, right? And each of those slices of bread are unique to themselves, but they're all very similar to the one next to them, and they all fit nicely together. So, you know, some people might only like that perfect middle slice, and they keep, you know, picking out the middle slice out of the loaf. Some like the crust. But what we try and do is to give you assignments through the 4 semesters and in each semester that looks at each one of those slices, right? So to that end, for example, in a news and feature photography course, we might have a couple of assignments built around sports, about peak action sports, about sports features, the life beyond sports. We might have assignments built around little slices of life where observing things unique to your observation skills are what we're asking for, a feature picture. We might ask you about something about weather. We might ask you about a type of portrait that talks about the dimension of someone's life. So we will take all of those things, and that's just one course, one, you know, in a news and feature type of course. Then we might look at another course where perhaps it's a photo editing course, where we would look at the photograph as a communicative tool to talk about the passage of time. So I have one assignment where the students will look at an archive, and then they will look at they will take an old photograph, and then they will seek out that photograph, and they will stand in that very spot with that same focal length, in the same light, in the same time of day, in the same time of year, and they will show how the world has changed in that spot. And so in a way, it's like time travel. So we look at, you know, all of these types of assignments. We might ask students to look at, you know, in our documentary courses, how, you know, a sense of place. We may look at a place and see, well, how does that connect with people? How do people connect with a place or a thing, right? Or how do we take a challenge in our life? So maybe some kind of social documentary assignment where you might look at a social issue, and it's so broad ranging, right? There's all kinds of things you can choose. So over the 4 semesters, you get this really broad-based exposure to things that you thought maybe you would never see.
Thank you for telling us all about Loyalist photojournalism program. And
Well,
have a great afternoon.
you too.